Chapter 13 of the Lark by Edith Nesbit. Recording is in the public domain. When the new brew of tea had been made for young Mr. Rochester, when he had drunk 3 cups, and had helped to wash up the tea things and put them away in the cupboard, when the garden room and the gate had been fastened up for the night, and the girls had parted from the always friendly nephew and the now completely placated uncle, they had leisure as they walked back to Hope Cottage in the golden-rayed evening to exchange conjectures as to what had become of Mr. Dix. "Lost the address, I suppose," said Jane. "More likely he didn't want to come," said Lucilla. "I expect he thought we were insane, inviting him to tea in that sudden way and promising to engage him without a character. Perhaps he's a clairvoyant, a thought-reader. Perhaps he felt how much we didn't want him to come while old Mr. Rochester was there. Yes, wasn't it awful? I kept wondering what Uncle James would do when Mr. Dix said how nice Cedar Court was after the horrors of prison life. It's just what Mr. Dix would have done, you know, as soon as look at him. It's certainly all for the best that Mr. Dix didn't come, whatever his reasons were." "I don't feel happy about him all the same," said Jane. "I can't get him out of my head. Did you notice his right boot?" "His right boot? No. Why?" "Well, I did. It was cracked right across. I believe that young man's at his last penny. Why on earth didn't we make him give us his address? Perhaps he's starving. He may die, and we shall never know. And we might have helped him. No, Lucy, it's no comfort to me to think that I can find a suffering charwoman and help her. I wanted to help Mr. Dix." "Yes, I know, dear," said Lucilla meaningly. "Cat," said Jane, but without malice. "It isn't because he's a good-looking young man. At least," she added with one of her flashes of candour, "if it is, I can't help it. Perhaps it's natural for us to be more interested in good-looking young men than in plain old charwomen. Yes, I'm sure it's natural. It would be, if you come to think of it. I'm not ashamed of it. And people can be interested in good-looking young men without any Romeo nonsense, too. I know they can, because I am." "Yes," said Lucilla dryly, "I see you are. Yes." "Yes, and so are you, Luce, so don't pretend. Only you're ashamed of it and I'm not. I can't exactly express, but I will. Let me see. It's like this. This is why I'm so annoyed at our losing Mr. Dix. It's as if we'd lost a stray dog. No, not that exactly. But you see, you can't take a tremendous interest in a young man just because he is a young man. Look at the organist at school, and all the awful young men that Gladys used to go out with. But when he's nice and a gentleman, and when you've frightened each other into screams, and when he wants to be a gardener and you've got a garden that wants to be gardened, well, it all seems so heaven-sent, so expressly arranged by fate, so that you shall be interested. And then, down comes the curtain. It's all over." "Oh, well," said Lucilla, "if you put it like that." And basket-laden they reached the gate of Hope Cottage. It was not till 10 o'clock that they found out that they had left the silver teapot and milk jug and sugar basin and spoons and sugar tongs in the cupboard with the other tea things in the garden room at the Cedars. To continue to leave them there was unthinkable, though the fine rain which had followed the golden sunset made the rescue party anything but a party of pleasure. "We must change our shoes and put on mackers," said Jane. "Bother. I thought of course you'd got them. And you thought I had. But we can't leave them there. Cedar Court's just the place to be burgled. I'm sure I wonder it hasn't been 10 times over. Come on." Cedar Court and its trees loomed dark through the rain. The one gas lamp nearly opposite its gate gave light for the fitting of the key to the padlock. But no key was needed. The padlock was undone. "I thought you fastened it," said Jane. "No, don't you remember? Old Mr. Rochester did it. At least I hope he didn't do it. I hope it's only that and not a burglar who has opened it with a skeleton key." "Don't talk about skeletons," said Jane. "It's quite bad enough as it is." "You're not frightened?" Lucilla asked in a voice that was not quite steady. "No. And I don't want to be," Jane answered firmly. "Come on." The door of the garden room was well and truly fastened, but when they had undone it and crossed the threshold, Jane suddenly shut the door and bolted it. "Draw the curtains," she said, "before we strike a light." Lucilla obeyed. Then by the irresolute glimmer of a newly lighted candle they looked round the room. It was empty of any human presence except their own. "So that's all right," said Jane. "Oh, Jane," said Lucy, "suppose there had been a burglar in here and we'd locked ourselves in with him. How frightful." "Yes, dear," said Jane. "I thought of that the minute I'd bolted the door. However, it's all right so far." She opened the cupboard, held the candle to its dark depths, and closed the door again quickly. "The silver's there all right. Now look here. Do you really believe the padlock was left undone? Suppose it wasn't. Suppose someone opened it and we disturbed them before they could get in here. If we go out carrying the silver they might attack us to get it. They wouldn't know we'd got it. We could put it under our mackers. We should look lumpy. Yes, I know it's dark, but they may have electric torches and flash them at us. We mustn't take the silver away. We must hide it." "Where?" "Up the chimney, of course. It's the only place. I've been thinking. Put the candle down on the floor behind the table. Now then, hand me the things. No, one at a time. Don't let them chink." She reached her hand up the chimney, holding the silver teapot. "Talk about chinking," exclaimed Lucilla, not without some reason, for with a devastating clatter the teapot, which Jane imagined herself to be placing on a safe ledge in the obscurity of the chimney, escaped from her hand and fell into the hollow depths behind the iron grate. "Well," said Jane, forcing a laugh, "it's safe now, anyway. We shall have to have the fireplace taken out to get it back. It's in a perfectly burglar-proof spot." "It'll be awfully dented, I'm afraid," said Lucilla anxiously. "All the same, I'm going to send the other things after it," said Jane. "It'll be no more trouble to get out the lot than the one." "Well, wrap them in dusters then, or they'll be dented to pieces." The milk jug and sugar basin followed the teapot with what is sometimes called a sickening thud. "And now," said Jane, standing up and rubbing her sooty hands on a third duster, "let's get out of it as quick as we can. Let's talk and laugh all the way to the gate, so that if there are burglars in hiding in the shrubbery, they may not think we're frightened." So they locked up the garden room and went through the rain to the gate, beginning their progress by a very artistically tuned laugh from Lucilla and another, not nearly so good, from Jane. "It is absurd," said Lucilla very distinctly, "to have come at this hour of the night to fetch the work bag. But with all that sewing to do before breakfast, it was much better to come now." "Much? Ha ha!" laughed Jane unconvincingly. "It'll be quite a funny adventure to write to Miss Graves about," said Lucilla. "Yes, won't it?" Jane agreed with enthusiasm and laughed mechanically. "The dear old thing will think it quite recklessly amusing," said Lucilla, laughing again. Really, anyone in the bushes would have been quite sure that the speaker, who had now reached the gate, was wholly free from fear or care and very much amused. "It will fill up our weekly letter beautifully. Oh," she ended, fumbling with the padlock. "What's up?" "It's locked." "It is, really?" "Nonsense," said Jane. "Let me." She pushed away Lucilla's fingers, and something fell rattling against the iron of the gate and resounding on stone. "It is, though," said Jane. "What was that you dropped?" "Only the key of the garden room. I'll pick it up directly. The padlock is locked, though, isn't it?" It was, beyond a doubt. "Did you leave the key in it?" "Of course not. You know it wasn't locked." "Then where is the key?" I must have put it down inside," said Lucilla. " Let's find the other key and go back and get it." But they could not find the other key, though they felt all about along the wet gravel, and all the time the rain came down more and more earnestly and searchingly. " Oh, bother !" said Jane. " And it's no good trying to strike a match in this waterfall." " Jane," said Lucilla, pointing, " what's that ?" "What?" " Out there on the footpath." " It's a key," said Jane. " It's the key." It was. In falling from Lucilla's hand it must have struck the horizontal iron of the gate and rebounded out towards the road, well beyond their reach. " We're locked in," said Lucilla. " And we're locked out," said Jane. " If we'd only got an umbrella," sighed Lucilla. " Someone else's then, with a crook handle. Ours are both knobs, you know." "Couldn't we cut a crooked stick in the shrubbery?" " Nothing easier," said Jane bitterly. " If we had a knife." " Couldn't we break one off? If we knew where to find the kind of stick we want, and could find it in this pitch dark Niagara." " We must wait. Perhaps someone will go by and we can ask them to pick it up for us." " We may wait," said Jane. " It must be past midnight. Everyone about here goes to bed at 9, I believe. Let me think." Lucilla was obediently silent. There was no sound but the patter, patter of the rain on stone and gravel and dripping leaves and mackintoshes. The lost key lay before them, glistening in the light of the lonely gas lamp, perfectly visible, wholly unattainable. At last Lucilla giggled softly but naturally. "You say everything's a lark," she said. "What about this?" "Not much lark about this, Jane." "Yes, there is," said Jane instantly. "It's a tremendous lark, really. A real adventure. Something to talk about for years. It'll make a lovely story. A splendid joke. And at our own expense too, as the best jokes always are. And there's one thing to the good. The burglars are gone, if there were any. Whoever it was that unlocked the padlock has locked it again and gone. So we're just out in the rain in our own garden, and all we've got to do is wait till morning. And if it's light about 4 or 5 " "We shall be locked up all the same, even if it's light," said Lucilla. "Yes, but you won't be frightened when it's light." "All right. I mean me as well. Besides, we can get hold of a stick then and scratch the garden room key back and get in there and get our own key and get home." "I can't stand here in the rain for 4 hours," said Lucilla, "and I won't. I shall go and sit on the doorstep. The porch will keep off some of the rain. We can do better than that. What about the summer house? That's not locked. And there are wicker chairs." "Oh yes," said Lucilla. "And I don't really mind the dark now we're sure there's no one but ourselves in the garden. Come on." The summer house was beyond the lawn where the cedars were, a largish, rustic, hexagonal building with 3 blind sides, 2 windows and a door. The girls felt their way along the paths guided by the overgrown hedge of dripping shrubs. "You're sure the burglars have gone?" Lucilla murmured as they neared their goal. "If they were burglars. Why, not even a burglar would care to be out on a night like this. It's a night to make the boldest burglar bolt home to his burrow like any old rabbit. I say, Lucy, this really is a lark." "Ye—yes," said Lucilla, her hand on the latch of the summer house door. It yielded to her touch, and they were in, closing the door behind them. "Thank goodness," said Jane. "It's dry here anyhow. Get your macker off." A silent struggle with wet buttons occupied them for a few moments. Then— "I say," said Lucilla, "you might strike a light. Of course I know there's no one here but us. Only, suppose the burglar hadn't bolted home to his burrow. Suppose he'd just taken shelter here, like us." " Don't be silly," said Jane. But she felt in her pocket for the matches. " Don't be silly," she repeated. " And I haven't got the matches. You had them." " I didn't," said Lucilla. " Oh, Jane, I heard something move over here at the back. I'm certain there's something here. No, don't stop me. I'm going out again. I don't care how it rains." " Don't be a duffer," said Jane, holding her. " There's no one here but us." " Don't hold me," repeated Lucilla, struggling. " I will go." And then, in the black darkness at the far side of the summer house, something moved. And out of the black silence something shuffled. A wicker chair squeaked. " I told you so," cried Lucilla. " There is someone there." And there was. CHAPter 14